Each face was different. Every nose was a weirder nose. Every mouth smiled hideously in some new way.
A pumpkin tree.
No, a Halloween tree.
Oh yeah!
Hey, yo! Hey, what's going on, people? And for today's video, we're going to be talking about the Halloween tree and how it became a cult classic. Now, some of you people might be asking yourselves, what the heck is the Halloween tree? Let's find out together. Well, it was a movie that was based around the 1972 fantasy novel written by Ray Bradbury, who grew up loving Halloween and all of its fastidious activities with the costumes and getting candy on Halloween night while trying to be extra spooky. Ooh. But he was never really happy on how the holiday was portrayed as this demonic, oh, it's Satan's holiday. Rain, hellfire, and demons roam the night skies and claim the lives of the non-believers. But I digress. So back in 1960, Ray Bradbury was actually going to team up with Chuck Jones. Yeah, that Chuck Jones. The animator being famous for the Looney Tunes and countless Merry Melodies cartoons from the 1960s. But sadly, that project fell through, so he decided to write the book of the Halloween tree 12 years later in 1972. Which would also be turned into this animated movie that we got in 1993. So what was the Halloween tree really about? Well, it was about this group of kids who all dressed up for Halloween. And you know, you had the skeleton dude, you had the witch, you had the mummy, and you had this dude with a hunchback who I guess was supposed to be a monster. And they had their best friend leader Pip, who ends up getting really sick and needs to get an epidectomy. So all the kids go to his house and they find out that he's getting really sick, and they end up driving away in the ambulance, and they all think that Pip has died. Wow, this is getting really dark for a kids movie. So they end up trying to go check up on him at the hospital. But on their way there, one of the kids ends up seeing Pip's ghost, which turns out to be his spirit that is lost, and they chase him through the woods, and which leads them to the big haunted house.
But that house is haunted.
Darn right. Otherwise, why would Pip lead us to it?
Oh yeah.
And you know, it's just really beautifully animated and just looks really awesome. Also, this brings me to another thing about this movie is how the narrator of Ray Bradbury does a really outstanding job as narrating through this film, especially about going into great detail about giving out characteristics of the haunted house and the Halloween tree.
The pumpkins on the tree were not mere pumpkins. Each had a face sliced in it. Each face was different. Every nose was a weirder nose. Every mouth smiled hideously in some new way. 1,000 grimaces and twice times 1,000 glares of fresh-cut eyes. Each blink held the remnant holiday spirit of years gone by.
That's right, there's this Halloween tree, this freaking massive tree surrounded with hanging jack-o'-lanterns of many faces and many variations of representing a person's soul that has been captured and trapped within the pumpkin. And that's pretty cool too, but hey, they don't explain in the movie, so I'm just giving you the rundown right now, while this really eerie and majestic Halloween music plays in the background throughout the film. So at this giant mansion of a haunted house, they end up being greeted by this old guy, and his name is, Moundshroud, and his voice actor does a really amazing job and just gives off that very mysterious and haunting vibe. The guy is actually being voiced by Leonard Nimoy, who is, you know, Spock from Star Trek, and you can hardly tell that it's him because of his great performance. He gets really upset at all these kids though because they don't seem to know a damn thing about the history behind their origins of all their costumes.
All dressed up for All Hallows Eve, but you don't know why, or what, or even from where.
I mean, come on, man. Give these kids a break. Maybe they just don't pay attention good at school. They just might be, what's that disease that's made up? Oh yeah, ADD, and they don't know many things. So Pip ends up finding his pumpkin. Pipkin's pumpkin, and it looks just like him. You know, he's already a ginger. Gingers are supposed to have a soul. You know that's true. You know, he ends up snatching the pumpkin for himself. He ends up falling from the tree, and this really makes this Moundshroud character get super angry. And one of the kids, Tom, offers to, you know, why don't we help you try to track down Pip and get him back for you? Because, hey, who wouldn't trust this creepy guy that they just met? It seems legit to me. So they go to a barn nearby outside and they construct this giant kite from all these animal posters that they find, and they actually come to life. Talk about having paper thin skin. But this is actually a pretty cool part of the film, because who the heck would expect real life animal posters to come to life and be turned into a kite? That's just pretty wild. So they all end up getting on this kite and they ride in the air because Moundshroud apparently can fly. The dude's OP. I can't get over it, because who else is going to ride this kite and fly into the sky? And they're going to end up traveling through time and space in order to go try to rescue their friend Pipkin, or Pip as I call him. It sounds cooler. Let's go with that. So as you might be able to tell, this animated film was produced and animated by Hanna-Barbera, because yeah, everything being animated back in the mid-1990s, they just own. So they first end up landing in the land of ancient Egypt. They learn about the arts of mummification, and they end up going to the Stonehenge in the Dark Ages to learn more about the customs of witches and how they were just misunderstood and they didn't mean to try to kill all those people, and how magic was just something that the normies just didn't quite comprehend. They end up catching up to Pip again, but he escapes. Like trying to catch a freaking Entei. He's hard as hell to get. After this fun trip, they end up going to France, arriving at this unfinished Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, and at this point they end up learning of the cathedral's use of gargoyles and demons, and just how they're very important to the world, and just more educational values in the movie are shoved right through your face. Man, I love it. Finally, the kids end up in Mexico on the Day of the Dead festival, because, you know, Tom's a skeleton. We gotta learn more about where the hell that skull bone bitch came from. They learn more about this significance of skulls and gain more respect for the Mexican heritage of their customs, about how the skulls came to be and why they are important. Tom finally catches up to Pip and he says to him that he was just being a really jealous dirtbag and he wished that something bad would happen to him. Damn, what a bitch. That's a pretty shitty thing to do, Tom. And you're a terrible friend. And if you need a terrible friend now, be sure to call 1-800-TOM SUCKS. But for real though, who says things like that? I'm just walk up straight up to him. I mean, Pip seems like a pretty reasonable guy. Just tell him you want to be the leader every now and then. I'm sure he would understand. This movie's taught me, if you have a problem with somebody, just be straight up. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, the Halloween tree. I appreciate that. So we come nearer to the end of this brilliant masterpiece. I can't believe that's what I'm calling it. Yeah, when Moundshroud tells the kids that unfortunately they have all failed, and he's gonna end up keeping Pip's soul forever. Sorry to say that, but that's the way life goes sometimes. But the kids start getting super upset and pleading and angry and bitter, and they try to, hey, what if we each give you 1 year out of our lives, and you can just bring Pip back to life and let him live his own life for 4 more years. Wow, what a fair trade. We each give you 1 year, so Pip can live 4 more years. They don't say this in the movie, but with the power of math, I'm sure this is probably how that's gonna work. So instead of Pip dying at 12, he can end up dying right before he gets his driver's license, because, you know, that's just fantastic. Who needs driving lessons anyway? But I guess it's about showing the importance of the kids making a legit sacrifice. And how friendship should never be underestimated, unless you're dealing with the divine powers of a madman and his spooky ass Halloween tree. And also, who really is Moundshroud? Who is this character? I mean, he says he needs to retrieve Pipkin's soul for reasons, but he never explains why. And he has the power of flight. He can use magic to bring animal posters to life. He can transform into a mummy. My guess is this dude's the damn Grim Reaper. I don't know. So that was the Halloween tree, and what did I think of it? Well, it was a pretty alright movie, I guess, and I can see why many enjoy this film around this time of year. With the awesome hand-painted backgrounds, they were just fantastic, and not to mention the amazing music compositions used in this movie was just very well done and gave off a very strong Halloween vibe, and all the cool Halloween oranges and autumn colors that were used throughout the film really helped bring it all together and just make a really nice kids adventure movie to behold and to be worshipped for years to come. So, if you haven't seen or heard of the Halloween Tree movie, you should definitely go check it out sometime, and if you haven't. So yeah, until next time, stay epic and spooky. Ooh! Cory out. Peace.